Lately I've been feeling things change. We've been working hard, no sleep, get it every day. And I swear that we ain't stopping till we pay. Yeah, the pressure on, gotta make it work. Triple play, yeah.
This is Triple Play Fantasy Basketball. I'm your host, Coach James Lewis. On the other end, Doc Mendelson. Fresh in wedding season. Both of us attended weddings yesterday. How's your week? Anything pop off in basketball this week that caught your eye?
I mean, it caught my eyes. I'm up 10-1 in our home league in categories. I mean, that's just amazing. But I feel like this is the end of wedding season, James, right?
Yeah. That's funny you mentioned you're up 10-1. That's very hard to do in 11 categories league. I'm down 5-6, although I'm winning in points, in rebounds, in assists, in three-pointers made. Like, I'm crushing this guy. He's
and you're losing
50-49, and I'm losing in
else.
Turnovers and field goal percentage. My team is absolutely obliterating him, but I'm losing. But I digress. Those things happen. I got LaMelo Ball this year, and I feel like I got lucky because he's been injured mostly in the last several years, but he is having his best season of his career. And 50-10 is something that you don't just sweep by. So shout out LaMelo Ball here the week. That's crazy.
All of the injuries for the Hornets this year are getting directed towards the centers. It was Mark Williams, then Nick Richards, then Grant Williams playing center appears to have torn his ACL or a serious leg injury. So that's where all the bad karma is going for Hornets.
It's something to watch. Diabate been a rebound machine, although he can't score a lick. I think Nick Richards might be coming back sometime soon, but you never know what those.
Gosh, I'm looking at LaMelo Ball stats this year. Jeez, he is cooking.
He's cooking. And then Brandon Miller had like 38 or something this week. Games watched this week. Thursday, no games. Thanksgiving. We wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. For the rest of the week, Wednesday's jam-packed. You might have people on your bench that are active. Tuesday, Thursday, obviously disregard Thursday. Tuesday, Saturday are stream days with their 5 games. So if you have the Bucks, who only played 2 this week, Suns, Jazz, Wizards, even though they play 2, they're on the stream days, which help you a little bit. But, Wizards, we got a player there where we're going to focus on. But 18 teams have 4, and 10 teams have 3. Weekend streamers, just to look ahead, if you can get somebody at the back end of the week where you have a pickup, you don't feel bad about picking up a Naji Marshall for 2 games. He might get you some counting stats that are going to help you out, and we'll talk about some other Mavs players. But first, Anthony Black is probably our main pickup of the week. We talked about a lot of the other players that are, maybe under-rostered in your league. Probably last week we talked about a bunch of rookies, but this second-year player, Anthony Black, is taking a big step up. He's gotten Cole Anthony out of the rotation for his defensive play. And then on offense, he can drop some dimes. 7 assists in the last week. That's nice. 17-8 line. When you get a 20-9 line, like, people aren't doing assists like that. I think Chris Paul is like 4th in the league at 8 assists a game. Like, assists are hard to come by, and this kid is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, James, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, and he was playing less minutes. I think he was probably playing in the 20 to 25 minutes. We said keep your eye on him. He's still 15% rostered, and the last couple games, 32 minutes, 22 minutes against the Lakers. That was a little bit confusing as he wasn't getting as much rotation minutes, but 29 and 33 before that, double-digit points in 3 out of those 4 games, 5+ assists in all of those games, 6 steals in those 4 games. So he's giving you a little bit of everything. He's even giving you a little bit of a block or 2. So point guard, shooting guard eligible, and I think he's only going to earn more minutes for the Magic moving forward. I'm not worried when Paolo comes back, because I think Anthony Black and him will actually play well together.
Yeah. Well, and shout out Franz. I know we talked about LaMelo, but Franz has been like a 30-ball machine and hit the game winner against the Lakers. He's been balling out of control. You thought Orlando was going to take a step back, but they have been consistently grinding it out, and they can get stops when they need to. And it deals with players like Jalen Suggs and Anthony Black. You draft defensive-minded players, and they're an intriguing young team in the Eastern Conference. It's just god-awful. Speaking of god-awful, the Milwaukee Bucks have been that, and so is Gary Trent this year, except in the last 6 games, he's hit at least 2 threes, and he's on a bit of a heater. Yeah, he's had 10 threes in the last 2 games. That's really all he's going to do as far as getting his buckets are concerned, but he's definitely a stream guy, 9% roster stream for if you're trying to win over that 3-point category right now.
That 18 points with 6 threes, all of his shots were 3-pointers. I have to do the math in my head real quick, but I'm going to say like 85% of his shots over the last 6 games have been 3-pointers. But it's interesting. He's been playing a good amount of minutes, 25 plus minutes in 4 out of the last 6 games. And that was after barely playing at the beginning of the season. Milwaukee doesn't have a deep rotation. They don't have a lot of solid bench spots. You're looking at guys like Andre Jackson.
Should be playing more.
Yeah. I can't even name guys off the top of my head that are worth adding. They only played 2 games this week, so I would say use them for the Tuesday, Saturday stream.
Yeah.
But keep them on your radar moving forward for games that Milwaukee has, 3 or 4 a week.
Yeah, and again, we've mentioned how Milwaukee's not playing up to standard this year. I think that they need to look to the trade deadline and maybe do a reunited. Malcolm Brogdon comes back, and then he gets plugged into the starting lineup. He had, 7 points against New York in kind of like a tune-up game, but against Boston, they started him. Bub goes to the bench. Bub drops off a clip. He has like 2 points. I don't know what his role will be kind of going forward. We had basically been starting all season. Malcolm gives you 18 and 10. I think contending teams may use a second-round pick to try to get him in their lineup. That might be a reunited with the Bucks. I don't know how salty that was, the ending there. Malcolm Brogdon, though, he did look pretty good against the Boston game. I was watching that one in my house, and he looked like he cut some weight. Obviously, his health has just been in jeopardy for the last, the 6 years.
The Wizards have a competent GM now who actually knows what he's doing. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets heavy minutes. I mean, 26 against the Celtics in his 3rd game back from the season. That's not necessarily monitoring his minutes to begin with. I wouldn't be surprised if he received a lot of looks, if he played in the starting lineup to increase his trade value. And that's looking at it from a real lens perspective. But obviously that helps from a fantasy perspective. Hopefully that more minutes equals more stats. And I mean, he had an 18 and 10 game. So that just kind of shows what his ceiling is. And, obviously we know that he's a good passer, averaged 5.5 assists per game last year for the Blazers in 39 games.
And I always thought he was like a winning type player since his Virginia days. He would buckle down a little bit on defense. We know he thrived early in his career for Milwaukee, and he's flirted with 50, 40, 90 seasons in efficiency. If you can get, 15 to 18 really solid minutes on a contending team, I don't see why you wouldn't give up a 2nd-round pick to try to bolster your lineup.
He's only 31 too. Like, James, you're older than him.
Thank you. I'm much older than him. I'm 35. Shout out to 07 draft class or high school class, one of the greatest of all time. If you want to do some research, just take a look at 2007. We got some dogs in there.
If you ever question James' credibility, and for the record, I never do. I just enjoy messing with him. But James is an old head. James in 40 years is just going to be the guy that can rattle off stories on his rocker on his front porch.
Well, I'm just going to rattle something off real quick. Kevin Love, Eric Gordon, OJ Mayo, Derrick Rose, Michael Beasley.
Yeah, that's the 2007 draft class.
James Harden, Blake Griffin.
That's 2009, actually. That's Tyreek Evans Rookie of the Year class, James.
Yeah. Tyreek wasn't part of that class. But that high school class, all-timers. Jaylen Wells, a guy that sounds like he can hoop, and he can. And for the Memphis Grizzlies, he's been a focal point of, both ends. He plays hella minutes, and he's holding his own. In last game, he dropped 26. He hit 6 threes. He hasn't filled it up necessarily across the board categorically, but 5% rostered for someone that plays as many minutes as he does, and someone that is on that rookie ladder looking like he's going to be a all-rookie team, either first or second team. Jaylen Wells is somebody that we haven't talked about. We talked about mad rookies last week, but he's somebody that should be at least on your radar.
When you wear the number 0, you have to hoop. You have to be able to hoop. So
that's the same thing. Yep.
That's the first indicator right there. Ja Morant still out with a hip pointer. Hopefully should be coming back soon. But what we haven't talked about is Marcus Smart has been out. And obviously Scottie Pippen Jr. was the play to add. And he bounced back yesterday with a 30-point, 10-assist game. But nice. Jaylen Wells has slowly been increasing his role and his minutes played. 14 shot attempts yesterday was a season high for him. 6 assists. He's not going to give you much on the stocks end. I'd like to see that out of someone that's 6'8", but I think he's definitely someone that needs to be more on your radar.
When you look back, the last game this is his career high, obviously 26 for 6 assists. He had 6 threes, but trailing back 14 points, 8, 15, 16, 9, 16. Like, he's been consistently giving you double digits and hitting a couple threes here and there. So there are worse options out there. And if you're in deeper leagues, you should give him a look. Ty Jerome, another 3-point streaming option, somebody that's been playing excellent ball for the Cleveland Cavaliers, have been the best team in the NBA this season, and 29 points against New Orleans, 24 against Charlotte. Like, he can get on some heaters. He's one of the better shooters coming off the bench. And it seems like Cleveland just finds these guys, and he's just fitting in with that offense so well.
Well, one of the luxuries you have when you're the Cavaliers and you're doing well is you can afford to sit guys on back-to-back games or guys when you're facing worse caliber teams. And they sat Darius Garland for rest purposes against the Pelicans, and that's where he had 29 points. Karis LeVert has been out with left knee inflammation, and we know Karis LeVert is somebody that guarantees to miss time each year. I mean, they did this last year. Remember Max Strus, Georges Niang. We were talking about all these guys that can add. And Ty Jerome, I mean, you think of him just from threes, and he can certainly do that, but he's been getting you some assists as well. So I would say look at him as a streamer when Cleveland has a back-to-back, when they have 4 games in a week, because they certainly don't mind giving Mitchell and Garland days off.
It ain't a show without a Martin brother. This time we appear Cody.
Because we care about both, James. We wouldn't just talk about one without the other. That's cruel.
Yeah. Caleb was rostered in one of my leagues. I'm just waiting for next week so I can cut ties. Plays a lot of minutes. It's kind of up or down with these guys, but in a categories league, they could win you a week if they're playing a lot of games. And he's been getting a bunch of stocks. What say you on Cody? With 5% roster. Again, we're talking about deep league guy.
I mean, James, we're talking about the stocks. He has more than one on every stat here. Like, look at that. How many guys can you say are giving you at least one in every category, even if it's for the last week?
Think people that aren't rostered, not many, actually.
I left you speechless for about 5 or 10 seconds. Cody Martin,
I'd rather have Jake LaRavia, but,
But we're talking about deep leagues, 5% rostered. He's played 25-plus minutes over the last 4 games. We talked about that Grant Williams is probably out for the year. So maybe they play Cody Martin at the 4. I don't know. He's 6'6", but I think categories leagues only, probably deep 12 or 14 team leagues, but somebody that can give you a little bit at each. I mean, look at that. A 2-steal, 3-block game. He's had at least 3 stocks in each of the last 4 games.
Yeah, 12 team leagues, absolutely no chance. I'll take Caleb over him too.
Wow, you're showing bias, James. I hope they hear this.
Yeah, clearly, Caleb's a better basketball player. Luka Doncic's out with a little wrist injury. I don't know them in person.
Okay.
Naji
So it sounds like you're just making assumptions then.
I just know that my fantasy bias says that Caleb's a better player. Quentin Grimes, Naji Marshall. What say you? What do you got on the injury? You're my injury guy. So what's your take? And what are you feeling about? I mean, Quentin Grimes 9% roster, Naji 8. I'll take Naji. I think he just has a better upside, personally.
I think he's better for scoring, but I think Quentin Grimes is going to have more consistency. Like from a categories league, 12 points versus Naji's 18, but that's inflated by 26 points. 2 rebounds.
26, you can't just ignore that he dropped 26.
No,
2 days ago.
That's a good game. 2 rebounds, 2 assists, not really giving you many threes. I think that field goal percentage is going to go down. And Quentin Grimes giving you a little bit more rebounds, and he did this with New York. I would go Grimes, but I think if you're looking for the upside, I can see why Naji's doing there. Grimes is actually playing more minutes. So I will just kind of caveat that a little bit. But I don't know. This is one of those things where we could see like Jaden Hardy step in or Kyrie just increase his shot attempt usage. Luka is going to be reevaluated in 1 week with a sprained right wrist. So obviously when you have someone like Luka goes out that with such a high usage percentage, I don't think you can pinpoint one person as his handcuff. So I think it's going to be everybody taking a stepped up increased role.
Harrison Barnes, 18% rostered. I think he was one of those when we were talking about the 2007 high school rankings. I think Harrison Barnes was the number 1 player for his class at once upon a time. Last week, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 3 threes, 220 spots. That's solid. You ain't gonna get that every night, but if you got him this week, that was awesome for you. The Spurs have a lot of players that are been streamable or people that you could pick up on roster. One person that I've had in both leagues that has given me, mental breakdowns is Devin Vassell. I had him last year. He was consistent until he got hurt, but this knee injury, man, I'm kind of on the wavelength. Like we break ties here. It's time. I'm sorry. I got to get to it a little early. Drop candidates, Klay Thompson. I know he's rostered in like 88% leagues, whatever. Dude, I had to get rid of that garbage, man. All he gives is threes sometimes. It's done, man. Fantasy wise, I'd never had him, and I was like, I gotta get him. It's a new team. He's gonna come back with a vengeance. Dude has been garbage. I can't do it no more. Bye. Peace.
James, I just, I wish I was good with video editing where I could just play you a couple weeks ago where I don't know who I was talking, but it might have been D'Anthony Melton that I said was better at this point in his career than Klay Thompson. You're like, stop. That's slander. What do you mean? Klay is a
Shut it up. Put it on here. Do it. Find somebody that's good at it.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Kudos that you're taking your L early. I was just trying to tell you this.
Don't be afraid to do it too, folks. Don't hold on, and then you're like, it's coming playoff time. You're like, man, Keldon Johnson's been asked for me all year. I got to get rid of him. Like, sometimes it's better to get ahead of the game when it comes to these guys.
But what I'll say about Harrison Barnes, 30-plus minutes over the last 3 games, 20-plus minutes in all of those. He's giving you rebounds. Wemby was out a couple games. Vassell being out opens up more minutes. Harrison Barnes is only 32 years old. I think sometimes we think about players older than they actually are. And him and Chris Paul, the vets of the team, have been relatively healthy this year. So he looked good. I mean, he's shooting 61% from the field. He's someone that has developed his 3-point game over the years. He wasn't always this much of a sniper in my mind. I think Golden State, he kind of had his role earlier. Then he had his role with the Kings. And, he's someone that can be a scorer if needed, but also doesn't mind being a second, third scoring option as well.
I can't argue with 44% from 3-point land. Like, that's tough. He's shooting over 50 from the floor. So he's had 20 plus points in the last 3 games.
James, I haven't been goofy. I was going to say, I haven't been goofy yet on this pod. The Flintstones, right?
Yes, I know the Flintstones. I used to do them vitamins every day.
Okay. Have you ever seen like the Fruity Pebble commercials or whatever?
Sure.
You haven't, but we're just going to assume you have. Where Fred goes, Bonnie, my pebbles. I'm going to send it to you after this show. I always think of Harrison Barnes. Barnesy! My pebbles!
Wonderful. I'm going to bring a throwback graphic to criminally underrated. Come on, Donnie. Donovan Clingan. He dropped 0 points, but he can give you 19 boards. Ever since that 17, 12, and 8 block performance, you have to hold this man. Even though Portland
You
is
are
holding
just
back on
so sus, James. Oh my
he's
God.
So
You are so sus.
The Wizards should have got him at 2. We all know this. Alex Sarr's a bum. You say he was a good draft pick. Donovan Clingan was the guy. He was the for sure thing. Stephon Castle, Jared McCain, Dalton Connect. There were 4. There were players that actually were gonna not suck. And then people just messed up this draft. Draft class is pretty bad, but there's some people in there, and I'm standing behind Clingan. And if he does have a game where he doesn't play too much, you got to hold this man because he could win you the league. And when it's all said and done, because of his potential when it comes to rebounds, when it comes to blocks.
Criminally underrated,
33.
Under-rostered. It's criminal that you're talking this way about a 20-year-old and saying to hold him. Quick question. If him and Jeremy Sohan dated, would you burst?
That's weird. Stop. That's weird. I mean, they're both Team All Lewis, but I digress.
But you're right about Clingan. I will give you your kudos. He has 2+ blocks in 5 straight games, and he has a block in every game he's played in this season. He's high upside. I gotta give it to you, James.
Well, and also it was kind of not risk, but if you're thinking week to week games and stuff, when he had that 17, 12, and 8, there was like a 4-day layoff. They played one more game a week. It was kind of a risk to think about the future. As far as I'm concerned, you could have gotten more games played if you pick someone else up. If you do have a bunch of games when the Memphis is on the schedule, Jake LaRavia fills it up across the board. A 1-and-1 defensively, that's what it's called when you get a steal and a block. But a 1-1-and-1 is when you have a 3, a steal and a block in fantasy terms. That's helping you out, especially in category leagues. It gets you assists, 4 rebounds, 4, 10 points. Nothing that's gonna wow you, but counting stats, you add that 3 games. Even though if you add 3 games, that equals 1 Jokic game, but it still adds up, especially if it's on the bottom of your roster. And let's say a 12, 14 team league, 11% rostered. Isaiah Stewart had 5 blocks last game. He's somebody you can stream. We've talked about him. And then Peyton Watson has actually been a little bit consistent with what he does, but he's going to get you some points, some rebounds, and some defensive measures as well. These guys have been featured before, so we're not going to spend a great amount of time on them, but they were worth a mention. Kind of a week.
I mean, Peyton Watson averaging 26 minutes per game. Last 4 games, 35, 40, 25, 28 minutes. Denver is up there with teams that have the minimum amount of quality players on their bench. So insert Peyton Watson, at least while Aaron Gordon is still out. And Isaiah Stewart, I feel like, has been better in the role that he's been. Shouldn't be a starter anymore, but bench guy, I think he's serviceable.
And shout out what they're doing in Detroit, man. They're not the laughing stock of the league anymore. Getting rid of Monty Williams, who is set for generational wealth. Look out for the Williams coming in the next couple of generations.
You typically see this level of bag holding by college coaches that get severance. You don't see it coached by pro coaches as much.
Yeah, and that's what we have for you this week. Again, we hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving and hope that you are on top of your rosters.
Gotta give a quick
to the lady.
Got to give a quick shout out to my girlfriend. Was in Italy for a couple of weeks. Had a little more time to put graphics in the show. She came back, brought me this great gift. So thank you, Madison. Got to give you a shout out.
Shout out my wife, Susanna, who watches the kids while I do this pod and allows me to have a little bit of hobby on the side. Because when you're a basketball nerd, sometimes you spend a little bit of time on things away from your kids. And, if you do have kids, tell them you love them.
Love you, James.
It's not all negativity around here, man. We got some positivity, Doc.
Love you, James.
All right. Love you too, man.
Ooh, it's on record.
Call grandma. Give grandma a call. She needs love too. All right, folks. That's it for us. Till next week. Peace.